All right, let's get back to a story before I came back to the front pages that we've been following since it started, really, the introduction of these floating bus stops. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, they're bus stops with cycle lanes between them and the pavement. Now, just think for a second. So the bus stop is there, but then there's a pavement with a cycle lane. So there's a cycle lane and then there's a pavement. So when you get off the bus, you get onto a little island, and then you have to cross that island to get onto the pavement. You with me? When we were doing the mayoral debates, we were looking for a bus to get on the top of. I know it sounds dodgy, but don't worry. Most of my life sounds like that. And I stood and I watched it, and I was like, wow. And actually, you have to kind of stand there to watch it to truly understand how challenging it can be. Since their introduction, the National Federation of the Blind have voiced their opposition under safety concerns. They've been raised on this show previously. Sarah Gayton from the Federation asked this question of the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan.
Hello, Mayor. It's Sarah Gayton from the National Federation of the Blind. And I would like to ask you if you will urgently meet Hyacinth Malcolm, who's a blind Londoner, and colleagues over the questions that she asked you about at Redbridge, over the dangers of floating bus stops where the cycle lanes are sandwiched in between the pavement and the bus stop, or where you have to actually physically step into a live cycle lane to get on and off a bus. And will you please halt any more of these being installed and start to remove the ones you put down in lockdown and others that have gone in London, because blind people cannot get to the gym, they cannot get to their knitting shop, they cannot get to the hospitals, and they cannot socialise and get where they need to.
So well, let me answer quickly. Of course, I'm happy to meet with you, Sarah, and Hyacinth. Let's organise that, Eddie.
Yeah. So that's what the mayor said. While TfL, who have funded 160 of them across the capital, say the likelihood of being injured by a cyclist at a bypass is very low. Today, a petition by the Federation is being handed in to Downing Street demanding a ban on them. Sarah Gayton is from the National Federation of the Blind. Joins me now. Before we get to where you are, did you like that little song I played for you, Sarah?
Oh, I did. I was dancing in the street. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
There you go. Which street are you dancing in, Sarah?
It's Horseferry Street. I'm right near close to the Department of Transport, because we're going to sneak the petition into the Department of Transport, and I've been told by the head of security it's going straight to the Secretary of State's hands.
So I've got to say, when I looked at it, and I've gone out and I've stood there and I've watched it, and it seems to me, and I can only talk for personal experience, that the bikes aren't slowing down in the way that you might expect, and it feels like it's designed by somebody who didn't necessarily consider what it might be like for blind people. So while I concede all of that, from what I see as a Londoner myself, where's the evidence that people are actually being hurt, Sarah?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I'd only been at the bus stop about an hour and 20 minutes. And the lady walked out. She was walking slow. She wasn't walking fast. Cyclist zoomed past and actually knocked her. And she went flying, Eddie, face first onto the cycle lane. The blood was coming out. She was bleeding. We tried to encourage her to go to the hospital. She wouldn't do it. She just desperately wanted to get home. So, that was just an hour and 20 minutes of me just coming down. I'd got a feeling, got to come and start looking at these lanes again. So how many times has that happened, Eddie?
And the person feels embarrassed and maybe they don't report it or whatever it might be. How has the campaign been going then, Sarah?
Absolutely fantastic. There's more and more people or organisations that have supported the petition. So it's up to like 280 now, organisations. A lot from London, but a lot from across the UK. Sight loss charities, blind charities, disabled charities, and a lot of older people's charities are all saying, come on, let's see sense and just put a moratorium on these designs. Also, Eddie, Lord Holmes, the blind peer that led the Paralympic movement in London, he led that. He actually called for a moratorium on these designs in the transport debate in the House of Lords a couple of weeks ago. So people are waking up to this problem.
So before you talk to me about where you are today and what you're trying to do, have you had the opportunity to meet Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, yet?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we were that excited to be on your show to even let us speak and ask a question of him. He said he would meet, never happened. Other questions were asked at City Hall. He said he would meet Hyacinth, myself and the others. Never happened, Eddie. And when politicians say that, everybody in London thinks it's going to happen, and it didn't.
Okay, so let's cut him some slack and say he's been campaigning for the last few months. Yes, let's just be on the positive side. I'll get Bells, Ella, our producer, or Susanna Mendonça, our political correspondent, to remind the mayor. We might even send him, the best way to remind people is to send them the audio of what he said and say, is there a date that you can put in your diary anytime soon? Is that all right? I'll follow that up here.
I love you so much.
There's no point in loving me. I haven't got any money, Sarah. There's no point in loving me. Right, tell us what you're doing then. Tell us where you are and tell us what you're about to do.
Right, we're just going to go and petition the Secretary of State for Transport, because we have heard rumours that he is seriously considering putting this moratorium on the floating bus stop design. We're then actually going to go to number 10 later on at 3 o'clock, and we're going to petition the Prime Minister again. The 5th time we've taken this petition to say, look, here's our evidence, because more evidence has come to light since we petitioned last time, and we need him to see sense. We need him to stop these designs and actually, come up with a design that, cyclists can see, they can stop, so they can wait behind the bus if the design is right and safe. People are scaremongering, saying that we want all the cycle lanes taken out. No, we don't. We want to be able to get on the bus directly from that pavement straight onto the bus, so we don't have to be, playing Russian roulette to get on and off the bus across a cycle lane, or Eddie, step straight into a cycle lane like up in Waltham Forest.
Listen, I'm glad there are examples of good practice that we can use. We just need to get you to the table, have the chat, and we can make sure everybody's as safe as possible. How many of you, and I hope you aren't causing too much of a mess?
No, one colleague from Leicestershire, her guide dog hurt a paw last night, so she hasn't made it.
No.
But we've got Professor Anna Lawson, the first blind professor in the country. She's coming down from Leeds to petition. We've got Kevin from Greater Manchester, because the cycle lanes went in London, then they've migrated up to Manchester. Same problems. He's down here. And then we've got Kasia, we've got Andrew from London, and Vincent's coming as well. So we're all going to be knocking on that door of number 10. We're also not just going to hand the petition into the Prime Minister. We've got it for the Select Committee chairs of the Women and Equalities Committee. We've got one for the Transport Committee and one for the public, I think it's called the Public Accounts Committee. All to say, look, what is going on? It's not right. It's not working. Let's take a step back and let's really make sure any money invested for green, healthy, all these different options works for everybody. And at the moment, it's not. It's causing wide-scale discrimination across London and in our other big cities across the country. And that is not a Britain that I want to live in, Eddie. I don't think nobody wants to do that. Do you?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's not my thing here to give an opinion, just to help where I can for people to come together and see if we can get some positive outcome out of that. Look after yourself. Stay safe, Sarah. I absolutely know that we will be speaking again. Sarah Gayton from the National Federation of the Blind.